Please welcome the Senior Vice President, Walmart Services, Daniel Eckert, and the Research Director of Worldwide Payment Strategies for IDC Financial Insights, James Wester.
Thank you very much. As the very big voice said, I am James Wester, Research Director for Worldwide Payment Strategies at IDC, which means I'm a tech analyst and I look at payments, which means I have probably the best job in the world, because I get to talk to really smart people about very cool products in an industry that I think everybody in the room will agree is one of the coolest industries, or at least one of the coolest spaces in technology. And I'm delighted I get to talk to Daniel Eckert. Daniel, is it fair to say you're the man behind Walmart Pay?
Well, it definitely took a large team and an incredible village to bring to life what's now known as Walmart Pay. And I guess before we actually get into some of the discussion, I shouldn't assume with such a diverse audience across the payment spectrum and financial services that everyone knows what Walmart Pay even is. So it might make sense to actually just roll a quick video so we can ground and center everyone contextually on what Walmart Pay does. If you can roll that for us.
Hi, my name's Kirsty and I'm here to pick up a few items and show you just how easy it is to use Walmart Pay. Hi there.
Hi, Kirsty, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. All right, that's me connected. We're good to go?
All set,
Thank you.
I've already seen that once, and I expected it to be a little bit longer. And
It's quick.
it does happen very quickly. So before we really dive into that, I think that to provide some context, and I think it's an important part of the discussion to have with you from Walmart is, I think it's fair to say that Walmart has had a very public, I guess some could even kind of say a contentious relationship with members of the payment community over time. So I'd kind of like to get that out and say, how does that sort of fit into Walmart Pay and the strategy behind that product?
Yeah, well, I guess being at a payments conference, I guess I should have expected that question, and why not make it the first one? Walmart has a long history of what we call the productivity loop. It's what Sam Walton, our founder, showed us, and that was if we can buy products and deliver services for less and operate for less, that allows us to actually sell for less. And we've got just a great number of teams whose incredible focus is actually looking at ways to drive operational costs out of the system so we can deliver everyday low prices and the lowest prices we can afford our customers each and every day. As it relates to payment acceptance, our world-class treasury team is a vital link in doing so and has done a great job of continuing to lower those operating costs, which makes something like Walmart Pay be brought to life. They were also an instrumental partner in bringing the product itself into the market. And those teams do a great job of actually allowing us to deliver on our promise to sell for less. We also have lots of teams that actually are focused on experience and customer experience. And as increasing data and research show that busy American families are looking to save time in their already hectic lives, focusing on a customer experience solution like Walmart Pay, which is really designed to improve the checkout experience. Payment, of course, is a part, but it was really around a checkout experience is where that fell into place, and we're really proud to bring it to marketplace and have it in market now in chain for about 3.5 months.
So looking at it as opposed to sort of as a payment product, looking at it as part of the customer experience and the customer service. So, I kind of want to dig into that a little bit. I want to understand, I guess my question is, if we do look at it as a part of the payment experience or as a part of the entire customer experience, how you say you want to help busy families, you want to help consumers. How does that work? I mean, I saw the video and everything, but how do you see that payment as a part of that customer experience?
Sure. So for us, as you said, James, we were really focused on several aspects of the overall shopping experience, and we looked at this specific one, the act of checking out, which we do hope when people check out that virtually everybody wants to pay us. Payment is going to definitely be a part of that, but it really was a deconstruction of the entire checkout experience and saying, how can we actually remove seams and friction from that checkout experience, leveraging the broad digital assets we have to bear, this supercomputer in your pocket called the mobile phone, combined with the Walmart app, and actually bring to life, I guess for lack of a better phrase, a blended retail experience that actually not only makes checking out more convenient, faster, more secure, and I would even say enjoyable while you're shopping at a Walmart store.
As enjoyable as bank can be, right? So I guess one question I would have, or we've had this discussion. You've got 140 million people going through a Walmart, and analysts like me, we love to try to stick people into demographics, and we like to try to say this is a typical Walmart shopper. You got 140 million people every week.
Yeah.
Nobody there is no real typical Walmart shopper. So I'm curious, what are you seeing after this amount of time? What are you seeing as far as the usage patterns, how it's being used, who's using this?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And again, still early days. We're about 3.5 months in, as I said, into our national rollout. We finished that at the end of June. But we just completed, just a couple weeks ago, a revised attitudes and usage survey among about 1,300 Walmart Pay shoppers. And I think one of the things that's always interesting when you actually are in market, you have both empirical data to look at, and you then have qualitative survey-based data to kind of get in the sense of, are you hitting your target market or you're not hitting your target market? We designed Walmart Pay really around this particular segment that we have a lot of passion for, and that's what we call the busy family. This is a segment of the American population that spans about 26 million households, tends to be a family unit of 4+ individuals, and is really an interesting trend going on among those families in the sense that the value of saving time has caught up with the value of that family saving money. And that time is measured both in units as well as in cognitive load, is what we like to call it, or just hassle. Removing hassle and simplifying my life is a very, very important piece of the family. And so when we got back some of the attitudes and usage research, we were interested to see if we had started to catch that in the early adopter phase. And I think what we have found is quite interesting. Our first hypothesis, no surprise, I think, of any type of tech-enabled product, was that we would probably get early adoption from millennial males, is kind of what we thought, and we kind of angled our attack on that one. Fast forward to the new research that just came out, and interestingly enough, while we've got a great resonance with our millennial males and millennial families, when you compare it to the through-the-door population of Walmart, we're actually over-indexing in Gen X and Boomer females, which was a surprise and actually a bit of a delight for us, because that was really that busy family unit that we were looking for, as well as, I would say, the later generation millennials. And so that was a bit of a surprising result coming out of that research. These folks tend to be right in the middle to almost upper middle class. About 75% of the users that we polled actually are 50,000 and greater in terms of annual income. And as I had mentioned, we had this skew female versus male that was a bit of a surprise, but also a delight.
So I guess that actually would surprise me too. I would have thought probably it would have been more sort of male gender. I don't know. That would have been sort of my assumption too. But I guess looking at that data, looking at the assumptions that you went in, thinking that was going to happen, and now you're seeing differences in who's actually using it, I'm kind of curious. You were talking also about deconstructing the whole process.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about how did that affect sort of the decisions on the technology standpoint? Why did you choose certain modes or reject certain modes, or look at putting it into a standalone application, or versus all of the other options? I'm kind of curious, what were the thoughts that went into designing the product the way it's designed?
Sure, there was a lot of discussion around this all the way around, and I would say one of the things that we found that was super important to us was, first and foremost, it had to be able to be as accessible as possible to the population that we served. We wanted to make sure that it could democratize access, and people who are in that busy family segment, irrespective of the device they own, irrespective of the operating system that they're on, irrespective of their payment preference, credit, debit, prepaid, gift card preference, that they could access this type of service. That was a kind of a fundamental tenet that we looked at. The second thing that we looked at too was we wanted to say, what would, we kind of have this phrase at Walmart about what could we do to make it a magical experience? And one of the things we did in the product design is said, why don't we go all the way to what I would call an absolute utopia of shopping? Probably unrealistic, but a utopia of shopping, which is I like to go into a shop, put stuff in my basket, and leave. Like, that would be the best. And sometimes I might want it to be delivered instantaneously to my home, but if I'm in a store, I just want to walk in, get my stuff, and leave, and not even have to worry about it. Again, a little bit unrealistic, but it's a good way to start in a product design. And so then we started to say, well, what could we deliver realistically in our shopping experience with the technology we have and the constraints we have? And that's what started to come around this checkout experience, where we think the best kind of payment, ultimately, is the absence of one in checkout. And for us, that really became a guiding product principle in the sense that when you're actually engaging in Walmart Pay, as you saw Kirsty on the brief clip today, you're actually not engaging in the physical act of payment when you're pairing yourself in that lane or to self-checkout. What you're actually doing is you're saying, I'm me, and I'm identifying that basket that according to my payment preferences that I have already set up at walmart.com, I want Walmart to pay for. And that was really starting to abstract what usually happens at a register, which is the physical act of payment, one degree away, and allow for other things to be brought to life that improve the shopping experience, like an automated delivery of e-receipts. You don't even have to wait for a paper receipt, as you saw in the clip. All those receipts are stored within the Walmart app. Things like allowing for gift cards to be managed very seamlessly within your payment profile, and you can add up to 5 different Walmart gift cards, and we'll actually auth against them as one transaction, as opposed to you having to use 5 different gift cards of value. So the design principle was around access, and then really starting with that utopian principle and saying, where do we go from there, and how do we back into something we can deliver within 6 months?
I will say I've used it now several times. Most of the time I use it is at self-checkout. Because, like you, I just want to run in, I want to grab. There's something actually kind of odd about it. There's a feeling of I should let somebody know.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody here who sees that I've done this, and I kind of want to hold the bag up in the phone and say, it's okay, I've paid for it. So as we kind of talk about, again, sort of that deconstructing and talking about, you know, that value that we're now placing. Well, actually, let me ask this first question. So kind of the next step then. I guess my question would be, you know, you guys have always kind of avoided loyalty and rewards. That's not something that's really in your nature. You just want to offer low prices. Is that sort of a next step, though? Now that you said you can manage all of those things in there, I would think that managing loyalty or rewards or something might be possible, but is that even really on the roadmap?
Yeah, for our customers, you know, it's funny, again, drawn from this body of research we've been conducting for about 12 to 18 months time frame, is that this is the first time we've seen, since we've been collecting our internal research, that the need to save time among this busy family unit, and among really the general population too, has caught up for the first time we've actually been analyzing this with the need to save money. Now, the need to save money is still number one, but when you actually start to look at the research, what it says is, but not at the expense of my time. If it takes me too long to actually find what I'm looking for, or the lines are too long, I've already got a crazy enough life that I'd actually be willing to trade off a little bit of expense in order to get some of that time back. And so for us, time is the new currency. And if you can reward our customers with saving them time, saving them both units of time, as well as what I talked about previously, cognitive load in their shopping experience, that is what our customers will reward us with not only shopping with us, but hopefully shopping more frequently with us. So on the roadmap, what we're looking at as we think about Walmart Pay, it really is a foundational capability for us. As I'd said, this was not about payments for payment's sake. This was actually thinking about a piece of the shopping journey called checkout and establishing a new way to do so, whereas even with the self-checkout that you experienced, you actually are checking in before a single item is even scanned. We thought about even reordering the flow to make it faster. We're looking at other use cases throughout that shopping journey, and how do we actually blend these digital assets with a physical store shopping experience to improve it. And it may take the form of an adjunct to Walmart Pay or a completely separate use case that uses the underpinnings of Walmart Pay as part of the solution.
Right. So, I mean, you know, listening to just that product flow and having to redo payments, you're now having to redo the entire process. So that's one department within a company as large as Walmart. So, you know, kind of thinking about the audience here, a group full of product people, all in payments. I'm kind of curious. I mean, this cannot have been an easy thing to do. I'm kind of curious if you have any advice on building a product like this, building it within payments across the multiple groups you mentioned even after the first question. This was probably not an easy process.
That's an understatement. You know, and especially when you add the time quotient to it, is that when we came up with how we wanted to approach improving this checkout experience with Pay, we were given direction that we'd like to have something in market within 6 months. And so when you think about rapid prototyping, iterative development, it's one thing to say and do that. It's another thing to do that and then have what's ahead of you of scaling to 4,634 locations at the volume that we have to do it in. And so you're absolutely right. It was a triple Lindy kind of act. But I think, when you think about how to do something like that, first and foremost, one of the things you have to get is make sure you've got alignment at the top, that this is the direction you want to go. But then one of the things that's really one of the largest challenges, particularly in payment schemes, is the litany of work streams that you actually need to govern to make sure that you actually have the right information, transparency, know where roadblocks may exist so that you can help clear them or work through them across multiple vectors, legal, compliance, privacy, 2 different technical stacks, and then landing it operationally to 1.4 million associates who are actually going to be your counterparty in this event with a customer is no small feat, and to do it on a date certain so that it goes live is something that it definitely, a lot of learnings generated from it, and just super proud of the entire team that was part of bringing Walmart Pay to life.
Yeah, just listening to that, it's like I'm glad I'm an analyst and not a product person. I don't have to build anything.
It's
I
fun.
get to make fun of the stuff you guys build. So I guess, though, you're looking at what Walmart Pay represents now within the phone, within the device. And we're looking at all of the different things that we've talked about. I mean, we talked earlier, we've been looking at mobile payments, I think you for 10 years. I know I've been looking at it for 8. And we keep having these ideas about what consumers want, and we keep trying to, the payment industry, we keep trying to sort of prescribe what they're going to do. I'm a little curious now, where do you see Walmart Pay as sort of the standalone payment application, or now an application within another app? How does that fit into where the market is, where we're going, and why? I mean, why do you think it is that way? What learnings can we take from so far pretty good success on an application? Where do we fit now?
Yeah.
All of this.
I'd probably say, and maybe take a page out of Mike's discussion at the opening of this keynote, in that it really comes down to value. And that value is going to be different for every person who is contemplating a product design within the mobile payments landscape. If you're looking at an open mobile wallet, you've got multiple constituents that you actually need to think through in creating that value. And in the old days, before mobile payments even were on the map, and I'm an old payments guy myself from a long time ago, I used to talk about the 3-legged stool of value in payments. Is it had to work for customers, it had to work for retailers or merchants, and it had to work for the account issuers. And getting those 3 legs in balance is a particularly tricky thing to do. In mobile, you actually have up to 5 different legs that you need to actually balance. You've got, the device operator, you often have the software platform, you've got then the other 3 legs. And so it will depend on which way you're actually going to be attacking the issue for customers, and then thinking about those other constituents so that value is created. For us, we were really focused on improving our shopping experience for customers. And so we had the ability to be the retailer, we had the ability to be the software provider through the Walmart app, and then we wanted to use the existing ecosystem of how people already currently pay, because we wanted to make sure that that was a behavior that they could choose which preferred mode of payment they want to have. We're the only, we were, I think at the time, and I think we still are, the only retail developed mobile payment application that accepts everything that we can accept at the register, with the exception of just a few payment types because of regulation, usually EBT, WIC, and SNAP. Those state regulations haven't caught up with e-commerce to the level we'd like. But everything else that you can already use today, you can actually add to Walmart Pay and use in our registers. So I think it's going to be different for each one of those approaches that you may take, whether it's an open wallet, whether it's a wallet that's being delivered software-wise for a retailer, or any other scheme, whether it's a wearable payment, is first start with the customer. Make sure there is true value in what you're providing, whether it's saving them time, it's saving them energy, or it's got a program that actually makes sense and is compelling for them to break out of a habituated behavior. And then relative to the ecosystem you're playing in, you may have to think about other constituents and derive value for them as well.
So, conscious of time, so I'm going to ask a question. You're a product guy. Take off the Walmart hat. You're just a guy who's built a payment product, and to my point, I have great respect for the people who are building products. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do. So I'm kind of curious, as a product person who's now had to put one out into the market under really tight constraints, what happens next? Where do we go? What happens with mobile payments? What happens with payments within the phone, the device, the customer experience? I know it's a very big topic, but I'm kind of curious, you have to have some assumptions based on what you've built and what you're seeing. What's the prediction? Where do you see payments starting to head?
Gotcha. Boy, that's a tough question to answer. We're in generation 3 of, I would say, the mobile payments discussion. And I guess my answer would probably be best described on how we designed Walmart Pay, in the sense that we don't know. And so we've anticipated that we can incorporate evolving mobile wallets and evolving payment technology that can be incorporated into that common experience. And that was precisely done because we're not sure where this is going to go and where adoption curves and where customer sentiment will take us, but we better think for the future and design for the future to see where that may go, because it's really anybody's guess. I think for us, we are really focused on the digital transformation that's underway at Walmart and really bringing our incredible digital assets to improve not only our e-commerce experiences, but also the store shopping experience. And that's a unique blend of assets to create, for lack of a better phrase, this blended retail experience that can help save our customers time, and in the process, because they shop at Walmart, save them a whole bunch of money as well.
So now after this, it just means you've got more and more generations and continue to fix and tweak the product. That's awesome.
Exactly it.
I think if I'm not mistaken, we may be out of time. So I just want to say thank you again, though, for having the conversation with me, and thank the Money 2020 folks for having us up here, because this is one of those discussions that I think it's important. I think this is an important part of how we get to that next stage where consumers are delighted, where consumers are starting to adopt those payment mechanisms that we're all working hard to build.
Yeah, well, it's been a real privilege, and thanks so much for your time as well, and this has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Excellent.